Hey Pete, what are you doing?
Like many in the online knife community, I get survival and existence mixed up all the time. But whether you survive or merely exist, I hope this video will give you the tools to perform the right amount of mental gymnastics to justify buying a $450 large survival knife. This one, the TRC Apocalypse. It's a beauty. A 1/4 inch thick slab of Elmax steel with some micarta handles, saber ground. It's really something to feel in your hand and feel also the quality of the build. It is a very well done, very well lined up, trued and assembled large fixed blade survival knife. Whether you would truly take this out and jeopardize your massive cash investment, well, that's going to be on you. But me being me, I have certainly put it through its paces in a bit of a home reno, got a big block of land, doing odd jobs kind of chores. And one main question has hit my lips whilst doing all this work. Hey 70s boomers, why'd you plant so many fucking palm trees everywhere? These trees are the exotic long-haired cats of the plant kingdom. They are just shedding shit all the time. These fronds, it seems like it makes a new one overnight. And in Australia, we have a thing called fire danger season, where you can only burn for about 7 months of the year on rural properties. So if you have a big, messy, shitty palm tree, I don't know, I guess it's providing shade to the chickens, but you know what else would have provided shade? Any other tree. Literally any other tree. I think if you're even considering this knife, the price is just something that you already have in mind, whether you're cool with that or not. Normal people, just average, someone who needs to go and buy a brand new knife is not going to find any real point in having a $450 survival knife. They'll probably just think it's too nice to ever use. This is for people who have like a niche interest in big, robust knives, taking them out, putting them through wood. If you're a real prime adventurer, explorer, and you really do subscribe to getting the best one, then this could very well be one of the best ones, along with things like SE6s and Falcon even A1s and things like that. It certainly stacks up really well against all of those. If you wanted to do a similar thing with less money, you could look at something like the Cold Steel SRK. Probably do most of the jobs this guy will do about as well, whilst of course not feeling as nice and having lesser edge retention, and then it's up to you whether you like those rubberized handles or not. But yeah, it's not anything that's going to really be sellable to people who aren't anything but quite interested in fixed blade knives. Casually interested folks are going to think it's ridiculous, and it kind of is. The same reason that I'm casually interested in driving. I just need a car to get around, so I would never buy an Audi, for example. But people who are really into driving would buy an Audi, and they'd be happy to have that 4 times money investment over my Mitsubishi Lancer, for example. So it's that school of thought here, driving people towards this knife, or indeed away from it. So the ergos are great. They are just really simple micarta handle scales. They're a bit flat, but they're a nice sort of tapered shape. fit your whole hand around there, no worries. It's not the most comfortable knife I've ever held. I think I still prefer like my Falcon even handles a little bit more, the enclosed style, but it's absolutely fine. It's got that flare on the back of it, so you can chop without having too much worry of it flying out of your hand. Overall, the ergos are a win. So of course you can choke up for detail work such as crafting weapon handles. Welcome back to Forged in Penis. One thing that I think fighting sticks have been missing in the last few years is corners. With a corner, you can really add a bit of sting to your otherwise thuddy implement. Thud, thud, turn, sting. Thud, thud, turn, sting. It will penis. So what makes this a survival knife versus just being a companion knife or a bushcraft knife or any of the other genres of fixed blade knives? Well, I usually put it down to the stock and the tip. A survival knife will have a much thicker tip, just designed to give it that bit of extra durability, perhaps when pressed into an axe type roll or a pry type roll that you might come up against in a survival situation. And whilst not a feature only found on survival knives, having a full tang certainly does affect a little bit of extra use for the knife. You could use it to crush things open. It also has a sort of extra layer of durability. It's certainly not a stick tang. It's got like a supremely optimized construction for durability. But I suppose the question on all of your minds isn't about that. It's probably, how many whacks does it take to get through a 2x2 compared to other chopping tools? So as my highly scientific test showed, this guy, whilst it will chop-ish, it still doesn't quite have the length or the heft as either of these guys to be able to really get through thick limbs or indeed 2x2 bits of wood. Whether it's just having a bit of extra length for a bit of extra leverage, having a combination of both, or just having that bit of extra mass, like the head of this Emerson Tomahawk. Very cool. This is the just proper Emerson made Tomahawk. Kind of a bit of a prized acquisition of mine lately. Yeah, it doesn't quite have that extra bit of chopping potential that, you know, you'd choose it as a chopping tool, but I suppose it'll certainly do it. It's, as survival knives go, if this would be a large one, it's definitely on the mid-size. Is it a companion survival knife? Have I just invented another genre? It's like heavy metal, isn't it? final sort of hold on this SRK comparison. You see, these knives both have about the same working blade edge, but this kind of has a few little extra features that make it a bit nicer. $350 more nicer, well, I don't know, that's up to you. So, for example, they both do a fairly similar job. They're both kind of very overbuilt, thick-tipped survival knives with a saber grind leading to a very robust flat. A little bit of extra thickness on the Apocalypse. Then they're heightening the saber grind to enable it to slice at least as well as the SRK, possibly even a little bit better. Little finger choil there. The handle material is a little bit nicer, and it's just overall finished a fair bit better than the SRK is. The SRK will probably do all this will do to about a 90% capacity. Let's be real. The steel isn't going to last as long in terms of an edge, but it's going to be very tough stuff, especially on this SK5 cold steel SRK. So you can certainly do this job for a more rudimentary price, as long as you're after just the Honda Accord rather than the Audi AH, you know? So just looking at that spine thickness there, it's next to the SRK, definitely thicker than that. The Gerber Strong Arm, it's a BDZ1. Geez, it's taken a wasting lately. I've really abused that knife during the move. About as thick as the SRK, but this stock thickness here is just massive. A Mora Companion heavy duty in military green at the end. They're a little bit thicker than the normal Mora Companion, but that should give you some idea of the girth of this bad boy.
Will you keep it down?
Anyway, let's see how this steel performs, this LMAX steel performs, when I reckon I'm just going to redo the factory angle and take it down to the knife cave. Right, so this is a big old beefy knife. Let's have a bit of a look at it next to what I've got on hand is the Falconer F1 Pro, which is a much sort of more companion style knife. This is a QSP fixed blade that Chris has sent me. I don't know the name of it, but it's like a little Bowie type full tang little beastie there. It's a fair bit thinner and again more of a companion style knife. D2 steel. A couple of Moras on hand, let's have a look. Next to a Mora Companion. And the Mora Basic, which is probably the lightest duty of the Moras, but still a very nice little cost-effective knife. So my assessment of LMAX, I've always thought of LMAX as a fairly underrated or maybe just underused steel. It sort of falls a bit between S35 VN and M390 in ways that it will be meaningfully noticed by the end user. It's a good stainless steel. It doesn't rust very easily. I've never had LMAX rust on me at all. It seems tough enough, and it's also easy enough to sharpen whilst at the same time holding an edge for a good long time. I'd put it closer if S35 VN was here and M390 was here. I'd probably put a little bit closer to the M390 in terms of just edge retention and overall niceness and performance and my general favor, I guess. So in my use so far of this knife, like I've just been using it rather, rudimentarily as things have come up, and it's sustained a couple of little chips along the edge. And this is things that, like prying apart stuff. I've had some old furniture I've needed to sort of break down that was just sort of sitting here and needed to go, and I've repurposed the wood for various things. So that's happened. And it's been used to chop up palm fronds, wood. I've done a bit of light splitting with it as I've begin developing a bit of a wood pile from some old pine that was here. And yeah, overall the steel's held up really well. It's still got a good working edge, albeit with a couple of little knocks and sort of chips or indentations taken out of it. So the overall average user, reflection on the steel is that it's good, not perfect, nowhere near sort of what 3V or sort of 1085 or SK5 would be doing for me in terms of being sort of impervious to dents and knocks, but definitely holding a really good long edge, sort of up there with at least S35 VN, that sort of thing. So pretty happy with Elmax as a fixed blade steel from use, but let's do a couple of little edge retention tests with it and see how it goes as well. So what I'm going to be doing is just mirroring the factory edge. Not going to go and slim it down anymore. I think the factory edge is about 20 degrees. Just going to make it nice again and then do a rope cut test. So for sharpening today, we are using the KME sharpening system with the wooden base, pistol grip style thing, slots onto the wooden base. You've all seen this before, but you know, in case you didn't know, it comes with these diamond coated plates that you affix to a rod, which goes through here, attaches to these, and then afterwards I'll be following up with a series of little glass slides which have sort of stropping stickers on them, all very diamondy. Thank you to Brian at KME for helping me out getting the stickers here. It's been they're difficult to find in Australia, the KME stickers. That being said, I think you can find other abrasive stickers from various sort of woodworking sort of shops, but then you'd have to cut them, and yeah, been really good. Thank you, Brian. All right, so I'm going to start off. I'm going to go to 300 grit. Because I'm not reshaping the edge at all, I'm just going with what's already got. So I'm going to redo the edge. I'll measure the angle afterwards. I'm using my phone to video at the moment, so I'll just put the angle on screen once I've measured it, and I'll have to do that in a separate little bit. But yes, this will involve just getting the edge as it is now.
I don't know what's more wobbly, your table or your scientific method.
Oh, hey, Bricky.
Bricky. Yes, they used to call me that. Now I am known as Rocky.
I didn't think I brought you to the new house.
And so I return to you now. At the turning of the tide.
Well, if that's the case, I am having some difficulty getting some chips out of this knife, so if you did have any advice, then I'm all ears.
Don't suck at sharpening.
Well, Bricky, that is looking a little bit better at the very least.
Don't dead name me, ass.
You know, you're absolutely right, and it doesn't put me out even the slightest to adapt my mental muscle memory just a little tiny bit if it makes you happier in the long run. It's a small change for me, and it may be a big change for you.
You sound like an SJW. Why don't you go and write for BuzzFeed?
Out of practice. Alright, so keeping in mind this is a much thicker edge than I usually use. And geez, you feel it trying to push those thick edges through the rope. 225 cuts on a polished edge on this 23 degree per side Elmax edge, which is certainly a good result. I mean, I used to get results like that with a 20 degree work sharp edge, little convex, so it's sort of in line, lines up well enough. A big knife like this, you want edge retention. It's not your highest priority. You're sort of more after just general stability, ease of care and maintenance. And I think Elmax is probably at the upper limit of the expensive stainless steels that you'd really want to be shopping around with, because you get any sort of higher in the edge retention, it's going to be too difficult to field service and sharpen. As I said, I'll generally carry something like this around to keep this sharp, just keep a good working edge on it. Elmax puts up with this sort of thing just fine. Something like, you're getting towards your more higher end stainlesses, like your M390s even, your S110Vs, things like that. S110V seldom used on a big fixed blade, of course. you're going to find yourself just struggling with burr control and things like that using devices like this in the field. So I'm pretty happy with Elmax on this. There was a couple of chips, but it's quite clearly from, you could use 3V and hit a nail and you still get a small chip. Use Elmax, hit a nail, you get a reasonable sized chip. It is what it is. You get what you get and you don't get upset. Overall, for the money, I think Elmax is about acceptable. I wouldn't want to pay $450 and get any less than Elmax. For a $450 knife, you'd be wanting something like, at the very least, Elmax, you'd be wanting 4V, 3V, maybe Vanitas 4, things like that in this price range. I wouldn't be looking for anything in 80 CRV 2 or anything like that. 1095, of course not, unless it was perhaps a really sweet custom, but really, it's about fair for the price steel trade you're sort of getting there. Comes to a nice polish, sharpens easily enough, even when you do have to really dig in there and get some chips out. So overall, pretty happy with the Elmax steel's performance. The sheath is really good. It's very basic. It's a Kydex sheath with a drop nylon loop. You can attach other things to it. You could get your tech locks, all that sort of thing, stick them on if you like. For a big fixed blade, for me, I just like exactly what this is. Clicks in, clicks out. You kind of drop the knife in, give it a push, in it locks. Overall, very little to say really about the sheath at all, apart from it's good and it's what you'd expect. I wouldn't want any less than this for the money though, that is for sure. So knife comes from TRC in a sort of premium box, like magnetic closure, all that sort of good stuff. Comes with some fairly handy marketing material, blades of honor, tails of men. If they get your dick hard, then more power to you. It comes with some ballist oil for keeping clean, I suppose. I'll probably use this on my knives that actually do rust, but cool. Just some stickers, GP knives, must have been where it bought it from, and also just this little, I assume this is comes with this knife here. It kind of matches the Kydex, like a little fire steel loop, if you like. So yeah, it certainly feels like a premium product, has all the trimmings, all that good stuff. So yeah, it really comes down to whether you like these premium products, and if you buy them to collect them, or you buy a few of them to use them, maybe filter down your collection, keep just your one. That seems to be the kind of fixed blade guy that I am. I've been through all the Falkneven Pro series, ended up just keeping the F1 Pro, did the Falkneven X series, didn't keep any of them in the end. No, I've got the S1X, my mistake. Bark Rivers, I've had a few. You know, I kind of cycle through, find stuff that I like and keep it. I think I like this one. I got no plans not to keep it. I'm in a position now where this actually has some real world tangible use for me. It still would qualify more as existence rather than survival, but it's certainly a big handy blade and it certainly works really, really well, which is what I certainly want for the price. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.